Welcome to another episode of Comedy Wham Presents, with me, your host Valerie, and sometime kitty co-hosts Ms. Purrington and Mookie. ComedyWham.com is your place to go for features about all Austin comedy. In addition to podcasts, Comedy Wham brings you articles, album reviews, our advice column, all of my Austin Chronicle articles about the Austin comedy scene, our festivals listing from across the country and the world, and our FPIA contest page is live tracking the 2024 contest. Our most popular feature is our events page for live comedy shows in Austin, Houston, and DFW, where 100% of the entries you see come from comics and producers. Click the Submit a Show button from the top of the homepage or events page to fill out the survey to get your show listed. It's free and easy. Tag us on your Instagram stories and we'll share with our followers, and we also offer paid promo boosts. Want to cover these resources we provide? You can donate to Comedy Wham on PayPal, Venmo, or even Patreon. Click the Support CW icon on our homepage to see the ways that you can help us. Our podcast was launched in 2016 to bring you funny people and their stories. As a fan, I like to delve into a comic's background and motivations, and will usually take a detour along the way. Consider the interview a way for you to get to know the folks that make the Austin comedy scene one of the best in the country. If you like this podcast, please rate and review us. Today, we are talking to somebody who started his comedy career as an improviser in high school, continued improv in college, and was the first male president of a sorority.
I'm very proud of that. Very proud of that one.
He started stand-up while at Iowa State University. He is the founder and host of Roast Battle Chicago. He's got a debut album, Town Kid, that started off #1 in all of the charts. And he's a recent transplant to Austin, where he's wasted no time making a splash and launching a new show called The Ultimate Comedy Competition, which if you look at the IG account for that, looks like a wild, crazy time. And now Comedy Wham presents our guest, Matt Banwart.
Oh, yeah. Ooh.
Yay.
Oh, wait, 1 sec.
Yeah.
There it is.
There
The
we
sound
go.
effects,
There we
the
go.
applause. There it is.
How are you after the death-defying or death escape from almost walking into a stranger's house?
Valerie, I got here, and Valerie was just walk in, and I must have misread the address, and I almost walked into the neighbor's house. I knocked on it twice, and I was ready to just take a shoulder to the door to see what happened. You know, and I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad I'm here instead.
Yeah,
this is a way better outcome.
Yes, far better. Yeah, I think our neighbors are nice, but sometimes the husband, I think he races derby cars.
Well, he definitely owns a gun then.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. So, yeah. I'm glad.
If you race derby cars, you also have a gun. Right?
Yeah, probably.
In Texas, at least.
Yeah, in Texas, exactly. Yeah. Well, let me start off with my official icebreaker question, and then we'll get going with our conversation.
Let's go for it.
One word to describe your past.
One word?
Uh-huh.
Can I hyphenate?
Yeah.
No, I'll just do, we'll do sporadic.
Sporadic.
That's a fun one. Also, there's one correction to the introduction.
Yes.
I no longer host Roast Battle Chicago. I actually sold. The show got big enough, became an LLC, and I sold my half of it.
Wow. Okay.
A few months ago. So
okay.
I'm a free man.
Wow. But you got all that money, right?
Yeah, it was good money. It was a lot.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah, it was nice.
Because I imagine anything in the comedy world, it's like, it's not.
We got very lucky.
Yeah.
We got very lucky.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Yeah, the show took off in a big way.
Well, thank you for that factual fact-checking.
No, you're good.
Nobody ever fact-checks.
I did found it, though, so I'm very proud of starting that show.
Yeah. But let's go all the way back, though.
Let's do it.
Because if you were an improviser in high school, then you were already a funny kid, I would imagine.
I thought so. I don't think other people.
No?
I think I always thought I was very funny.
Yeah.
I was the guy who would... Like, something would happen, and I would say something funny, and then the louder kid would hear what I said and repeat the funny thing that I just... And I was always like,
oh.
I mean, I'm killing it here.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
I was also
you
like the king of, like...
credit for it.
Yeah, I mean, the king of, like, something happens, and then, like, 5 hours later, I'm like, oh, that would have been the best response.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like, it was always... I'd always be like, that would have been the funniest thing to say 4 hours ago.
Yeah.
I was always that.
Yeah.
So, there was definitely kids growing up that were way funnier than me, though.
Yeah. So your My kid goes to a he just graduated. He went to a pretty big school. I don't know that
Huge.
they have like an improv program. So
Really?
your high school must have been huge.
No, it was graduating class size was 80.
What?
I'm from rural Iowa, so it was actually it's funny. It's really funny. It was a speech competition, is what it
Okay.
was, and you could like compete in like different like. Can I do this with the microphone?
Sure,
All right,
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
I want to lean back.
Nobody ever does that.
There's like different categories. You could be like one would be like readers theater where you had to act, but you had to hold and read off the script the entire time. And then it would be like poetry or like one act play, or one of them was like you would do a fake news segment or you do like fake radio, and one of them was improv. And that's the way they did it in
Wow.
Iowa. So it's called speech competition. And I realize every state does theater events or whatever you want to call that differently.
Yeah. Yeah. So was it just you then, or was it a duo, a team?
They had group improv,
Okay.
which is what I did. I loved.
Okay.
And then they had solo improv, which isn't a thing.
Yeah.
It
That's
was
just
it was awful.
Yeah.
You'd do improv as one person, and you have to play both characters, and it
Oh.
was never good to watch. Even when it was done really well. Even when it was like really to me like, wow, that guy really gets it. Improv is all about like give and take of your partner. It's the entire view. I was such an improv nerd in college.
yeah.
I read every improv book, and I would like have the university buy more.
Really?
I was like super
Wow. You
just
were
like
that kid.
I was on it.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things about improv is that it's all like group mind, or it's all like it's a very collective art form. Mm-hmm. And so I was like at 12, I was like so hyper obsessed with it. And I'd try to get other people around me like on board, and you just kind of realize like it's a collectivist form. So I can be here, but if everyone else around me is at 2,
Yeah.
and I'm blowing past 10 with my enthusiasm, it's like you just can't make it happen. Like
Yeah.
it has to, like everyone has to also like share the same level of ambition.
Yeah.
And you can't like resent them for it because it's their own life. So I think I just kind of got tired or kind of just like checked out at some point,
Yeah.
where it was like, well, if I'm not surrounded by people that want to match my enthusiasm for this, then I can't. There's no way,
Yeah.
There's no way forward.
Well, you're painting it like maybe stand up, because I imagine that was your next step. Then is you started a stand up comedy club
Yeah.
at school.
Yeah, it was new. It was like 2 years old, and I came in and I became
Okay.
president of it after, I don't know, 2 or 3 years.
Okay, and
Yeah.
that is the story and the lore of the
There it is.
the sorority. 'Cause
Yeah.
you had it.
Well, I'd been writing stand-up before college. I had a summer job where I worked at an extreme sports summer camp,
Okay.
and it was in southern West Virginia.
Okay.
And I know people think Iowa is like rural and weird, but southern West Virginia, I was like, people were like choosing to use outhouses. Like one of my coworkers was 19, had like 8 teeth missing just from like rotted
Oh
out.
my gosh.
And it was like, these West Virginians are crazy. Like everything you thought, like you would read in like these books. I was like, no, these are real people. And it was like wild. And so when I was living out there, I started writing stand-up, and I was like a camp counselor about like West Virginia, the people of West Virginia. It was like really hacky stuff. Like one of the jokes is like I had a street joke, and I knew it was a street joke. So I'd preface the joke by being like, well, you know what they say. It'd be like, there's more, I don't know what the line was. It'd be like, oh, the toothbrush was invented in West Virginia, because if it was made anywhere else, it'd be the teeth brush. That's a street joke. I found that in a book. I feel confident.
Oh, man.
But I would say it in my act, and I'd be like, well, you know what they say. Like, and I was justifying using street jokes,
Yeah.
My first set was all about like making fun of the people of West Virginia. And I'd written out like it was like I wrote out like on like a Word document. It's on my computer still, and it was like a 12-minute stand-up set. And I was like, because that's what I'd written 12 minutes worth of West Virginia jokes. And I was like
Yeah.
a fan, and there was like callbacks, and I was like, this is a really creatively beautiful script I've written, and this is how stand-up comedy writing is you just write out a script. And I was like, there's callbacks, and like,
Yeah.
and I was like, ooh, this is really clever and smart. And then I went to an open mic in Penguins Comedy Club in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and I would like 12 minutes.
And what did they say to you?
They said, "You have 5."
Well, hey, 5 is not bad.
But I had a script, so it wasn't like, you know what I mean? And I'd like been practicing it as if it was a script because I just didn't know. So I would like, I was in my car, literally, like, it was an old gray Dodge Dakota, little old pickup truck, and I was just like reading through the script, like I'd printed out, and I was in my car, just like this. And I got there, and I was like 12, so I just kind of went on stage and, ran through it as fast as I had memorized it, and I got like 6 minutes in, then they kicked me off. And I think they all hated me for it. They're like, this asshole. And I just didn't know any better. I wasn't trying to be mean or arrogant.
Is that energy again for something that you have that isn't matched by others around you?
Well, it's not how stand-up works.
Yeah.
I had to learn. I had to learn. It's like, we just kind of write one joke at a time.
Yeah.
But in my mind, I was like, well, I'd rather just write like a full set or like a full like complete thought and really flesh it out.
Yeah. So when you started stand-up, did you throw yourself into it in the same with the same zest as you threw yourself into the improv, studying and
I don't know if I wasn't as studious. I think I asked a lot of people. I was also in Iowa, and one thing I learned that I'm still like fighting because my first 4 years were in Iowa is that the comedians in Iowa are wrong about everything. So. Because, like, I remember, like, I would, like, message people on Facebook. I'd be like, hey, so, like, what do I need to work on? Or, like, what are your thoughts on this? And, like, it was just, like, and I mean this in a way. This is, like, this wording is going to sound terrible. And I'm going to sound like a douche. Just miserable idiots. Just, just, like, pretentious and wrong and so cocky and just, like, just miserable losers. And I mean this in like the nicest way possible.
But have you met comics in other cities?
No, I know. But it's also like it's Iowa.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and it's like some of them are like allergic to working the road. And they were like, well, what we have here in Des Moines is it, and we're all gonna make it. And I'm like, make it where? To Des Moines? Like what? And I don't get a lot of headlining work, but I probably do, I don't know, 5 to 10 headlining club dates a year, and that's really cool for me. That's generous. I don't have any real meaningful credits, but I'll go back there and it'll be like the same guys, and now they're 15, 20 years into stand-up, and they headline the 1 or 2, indie clubs in Des Moines, and they're like, oh, yeah, what are you doing? And I'm like, do you want to see my dates?
Yeah.
And it's not like someone's dates doesn't dictate the quality or the artistic integrity of their act, for sure. Yeah. I think there's great comics that are underbooked and, terrible comics that are overbooked. Yeah. But I just want to be like, sustained over this many years, right. I feel like I'm doing it.
Right. Right. So did that attitude of disdain for your fellow Iowan comics, is that part of what drove you to Chicago?
Yes.
And Chicago versus LA or New York?
It was just closer.
Oh, is it really? Oh, I'm so bad at
Iowa?
geography on the West Coast.
Iowa and Illinois border
Iowa,
each other.
That's right.
Iowa and Illinois border each other. Oh, you thought Iowa was on the West Coast? This is wild.
I had Idaho in my brain.
It's okay.
For some reason,
Iowa, Idaho, and Ohio always get those 3.
I've used to live in Chicago for 10 years.
Really?
Did visit Iowa, whatever the little cute, quaint river town.
Yeah, Dubuque.
There you go.
Okay. Yeah. That's the one.
And at one
Davenport, maybe.
I was dating somebody, and we stayed in the thing that holds the corn, the silo.
Elevator.
I don't think it
silo
was a grain
could be
elevator.
It could be, grain elevator.
But it
silo.
was like this round.
Corn bin.
Yeah. We stayed. That's so Iowa.
That's romance.
That's about as Iowa as you can get.
Like near Galena.
I don't remember.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Galena's in Illinois, but it's right on the border.
Okay, so agreed. Chicago is closer.
I think it's a mathematical. I think you can quantify it.
We
can go on Google Maps right now. No, and also I still loved improv, and I think I was like, well, maybe I'll go to Chicago, and I'll be able to like match. Yeah. I'll find someone who matched my enthusiasm for improv, or like I wasn't like dedicated to like one or the other. Clearly I'd kind of like given up on improv a little bit. Not given up. I was just, and I haven't.
It was a bummer.
Yeah, if there was ever like a phase in my life where it's like I could get back into it, I would, but I have no interest of like, just because like I said, like I read every book and I was like such a nerd. Like
Yeah.
I would watch like really like YouTube videos about improv with like 20 views. You know what I mean? Like I was like deep down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, yeah.
Like for some people it's political, you know? Like, but for me it was just like improv,
Yeah,
and I was
yeah.
like I just absorbed it all, and
So people could talk methods with you about all the different.
and I
types
still
of-
probably could.
Yeah.
I'm probably a little rusty, but I
Yeah.
could get really pretentious. You know, I could get as pretentious with,
Yeah.
and I'd get in like spats with people in college. Like when I was a freshman, I'd find seniors doing improv, and I'd be like, "You idiot!" I'd be like, and they hated me for, and they should have. But I mean, I was like the worst. But I was like, oh really? Oh really? I don't think you fully understand philosophically what yes anding is. I think you're taking it as a surface level thing. You can still say no as
my
long as it's an
God.
acceptance of the reality in which has been presented within your scene partner.
Oh my God, you must have been so
Oh,
insufferable.
I was so bad. I mean, I still am. Look at the way you can't see it, but I'm holding the mic
I know,
in like
I've
the weirdest way
never in the
possible.
history of
I just wanted to lean back. I wanted to be cool. But here's the thing though. I was like insufferable, and the whole time I was like fully aware of it. I was just mad. I was just
Uh-huh. Yeah.
like, not even mad. I'm not mad. I'm disappointed. It's not you. It's me. It's just circumstance. We'd have worked out in another life. I was just like annoyed because like I hated when I was a freshman because these seniors would like present themselves as like, you know, it's very common in like any academic or like a lot of sense, like, oh, I'm an expert, but like I'd be like, no, you're not. And I've always had a disdain for that.
yeah,
Someone presenting as an expert, and you're like, well, I'm better than you.
yeah,
And it's not that I'm better. It's like, well, I know more. Like, and I think it's very cocky, and it is very pretentious.
yeah.
Very self-indulgent. But I hate seeing someone who's like parading around as like a genius, and you're like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
That's what I feel when I go back to Des Moines.
Yeah.
Is like I'll still see people, and they'll be like, I'm the king, and it's like the ego, and you're just like, dude, I mean, you're doing the same closer you did
Yeah.
6 years ago when I
Yeah.
left.
And you're
Like,
still there.
and it's gotten kind of worse from the level with you. It hasn't. I'm not like looking at it being like, well, this is a perfect bit. No wonder it took 6 years to write 5 minutes of stand up. Like, and then it's like the cockiness, and then like they still look down at me because I was 18, 19, 20 when I was there, and so I get it. Like, you know, I would have hated me too.
Yeah.
But I just kind of look at it and I go back there, and it's like the way they talk about comedy is just like, okay, like, and they'll be like, oh, you think you know? And I'm like, I do. Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
Empirically,
I'm
yeah.
in it, dude.
Yeah.
I don't
right,
know.
Right.
I'm-
So what was your first thing that you did in Chicago, comedy wise?
Oh, just really bad open mics.
Yeah.
Do you mean like first like thing of note? I don't know.
Well, no, yeah, no. What you use? I mean, you're in an improv scene,
Yeah.
city,
I had no money.
but you.
I was homeless
Oh,
for I was
yeah.
homeless for 3 months.
Oh gosh.
Living out of my car,
Oh, man.
showering in like friends' showers that I'd meet.
Yeah.
And then I finally had a place, and then had a day job. I left the day job, left the place, moved in someplace else, and then lockdown.
Oh man.
But I moved. I never did improv. I never had the money for classes, and
Yeah.
I was too. And this is all ego. I didn't have the humility to jump in at a entry level improv class. You know what I mean? Like 4 years in college.
Yeah.
Like I've literally like they'd be like, oh, here's your instructor, and I'd be like, oh, I'm Mick Napier. I've read your books. You know what I mean? Or like I'll tell you what. This is how lame it is. When I was in IO, because they had a Monday open mic for stand up, and it was I don't even remember the actor's name. I know his son's name, which is crazy. Better Call Saul. What's his name?
Oh God, I never watched it.
It was
so
it was this famous actor, Bob Odenkirk.
Oh.
Bob Odenkirk and Shauna Halpern, who was like the founder of IO. Her and Del Close founded it. We're walking down, and I'm like starstruck. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's Shauna Halpern. And my friend is like, that's Bob Odenkirk. And she was with like other actors. Like I really don't know actors' names.
Yeah.
And they were like, she's with all these like major. She's like, oh my gosh, on a Monday at IO, and I was just like, Shauna Halpern's here. And those are her two dogs that people complain about that in like improv podcasts. Those are the two annoying dogs, and that's Shauna. And they're like, what? And I'm like, because without her, there is no Bob Odenkirk. There is no, you know, SNL. There's no.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, and they're like, you're such an idiot. She's just this annoying lady who works here. She's like, in her late 70s now, and I was like, I don't know, she's a legend.
So you got caught up. You were in Chicago for what, less than a year before the lockdown?
Yeah, probably just shy of a
Wow.
year, and things were just starting to take off for me there too. I don't know. I really
What is
enjoyed
that?
Chicago.
What does that look like? What do you mean?
Things taking off.
Yeah.
So I just started my own show. My show at the
Okay.
time was called Late Night 5, where we would comedians would do what they would hypothetically do on late night television, and then I'd interview them about them. But the interview would be like on the technical end of things.
Okay.
I wanted to like break down their set. Not like late night. It's like very like just popping for laughs. I want to be like really technical because that's I'm like a nerd.
Yeah.
Loser. Nerd. Where's the sound effect for that?
I don't know that there is. Oh, well, that would have been next door.
Yeah. Had I walked in, that would have been shot.
Yeah.
And so I had that show, and I'd done like one of them, and I'd sung kind of. Oh, this is funny. I had like a break. I was trying to do distance. I had this like distance relationship, and I'd saved all this money up to like fly to Denver to like surprise her, and then it came to my realization that she had like cheated.
Oh boy.
And so I took all that money and I started a show with it, and I had done one show, and we had like just moved to this new venue that just opened up, and we were the first indie show there, and then I was like all the Denver money I put into that. And then the world shut down, and I was like, "Damn it!" Now I'm heartbroken, and I don't have a show.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh,
you're like
man.
you're like
And
really
I can't
lame.
go anywhere.
Yeah, you're like darn it.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, came through lockdown.
How'd you stay busy? Because I imagine when you've been performing in one way or another, that must have been really tough.
Yeah, well, at the time I was mainly just doing like just the lowest level open. I kind of went to Chicago with the mentality of just do the bottom level everything and just try to work your way up organically. During lockdown, I started doing shows in states that were open. So I'd go back to Iowa, Wisconsin, Indiana, a lot of stuff in Indiana, and, a lot of because it paid and I just quit my job too. I was 2 months out of my job, and so I just quit my job, and so there was like no work for me in comedy. There's also no work for me in work, and so I was just like, well, okay, I've got no money, and so that was tough. That was like annoying, and I don't know. I kind of just I just did shows in different states that were open, and people hated me for it. And like it was like I got like Facebook messages from people like threats from Des Moines, and which is why I just
again?
and you're back, and I got away. And at that point, it was like, and maybe this is like greedy of me because I potentially put the health of others at risk by doing shows during a medical turbulent time.
Yeah.
But I had no money, and I got offered a show in Indiana for like I usually don't, I don't want to get. Then it was over $1,000.
Jeez.
And I was like, that's 2 months rent.
Yeah.
That was like over 2 months rent, and I was like, I need to, like, I'm gonna do this. That was the first one, and then after that, it was like everything else was just really well paying road work. Was all I was doing because I needed to pay the bills, and I could start doing that with comedy.
Yeah.
Then, and I just did, and I think it was like a troublesome thing for me to do, and I think a lot of people in Chicago got mad, but then like all of them started, like, they all started going out, and then I was just like, well, there's some hypocrisy here, and I understand, like, I knew what I was doing was morally gray, but I also, like, didn't have a choice to sustain myself.
Yeah, fight or flight.
Yeah, so I kind of just did it, and I felt, I know Texas is very different.
Very different, yeah.
Yeah, it stayed open, but yeah, no, so.
But you had the same deal as what you were seeing in Chicago, because a lot of the pre-pandemic comedy scene, most of the people there in the scene were like, oh, we want to be safe. Because, the whole thing
course.
that Austin is a very liberal city and a very conservative state. So everybody wanted to do the right thing. And then people out from outside realized, oh, Texas is open. We'll go to the liberal city. We're going to go crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what happened.
Well, I was exactly, let the record show, I was like 2 months into lockdown before I took any work. Like I was like, it wasn't like I was like immediately like, oh sweet, everyone's out, I'm gonna go. Like it wasn't like I wasn't like sliding in to take people's spots.
Yeah.
I was like 2 months in, and then I got a message about this like festival in Indiana. It was just like a town festival, not a comedy festival, and I was like, yeah. I was like, that money is stupid.
Yeah.
Like I need that.
Right.
And then I think from there, just everything else kind of fell in line. I probably shouldn't have posted about it on social media, or I don't know. I probably should have been more quiet about it, but I did it, and it's a morally questionable thing, I guess. I did, but whatever.
Yeah. I mean, you're here.
Yeah,
Hopefully,
I'm alive.
Other people are.
And I got vaccinated right away too. I don't know. I'm not like. Don't paint me as like one of those guys who's like, that's the scamdemic. I was as reverent to the thing as I could have been. I lived in an apartment like the size of, like not even the room where it was the smallest apartment. I lived in like a jail cell, and I couldn't leave, and I was just like, I was going crazy, like literally crazy. Yeah. And I was like, I gotta get out.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yep. Morally gray thing to do.
Yeah. Well, all right, let's move on from that. Because I don't like morally gray things. They're
I'm sorry.
too complicated to think through.
I had a lot of fun though. I was being silly. I was writing jokes about like I was going insane. Like literally, like if you look at my I was writing jokes like as if every thing in my apartment was talking to me, or like an inanimate object. If it was like real, I'd be like, here's a joke from the perspective of my microwave.
Oh, wow.
And none of it's usable. Like, none of it's like, I'd go on stage, I'd be like, what am I saying? Anyway.
So when did you, did Chicago open up enough for you to get back to,
yeah,
you must have, because one of
yes.
your notable credits is
Roast Battle.
Yeah, Roast Battle. When did that start taking shape?
We did that, I don't know, I think 2021.
Okay.
And it was still, we would do the show, and I started at the venue called the Lincoln Lodge, which I love deeply, the Lincoln Lodge. And at the time, they'd have plastic dividers, like these see-through plastic dividers on like metal poles, plastic, like it wasn't cellophane wrap, but it was like plastic wrap, second pole, and you'd put it in between every table to divide the tables from each other. So you'd only seat like, the room now seats like 120, 140. But at that time, you could see like maybe like 40 or 50 with like lockdown regulations. And we started our show there with that, these plastic dividers up. And it was easy at first because people just were like, there's a thing open, and they would go. And it slowly builded, and then we started putting like videos of it online. At that point, I was having like a moment on TikTok. I'm like, there's people that are so much bigger than me, but I started posting our Roast Battle clips online. I'd edit them. And we would do like 2 million, 3 million, 5 million, 10 million, 2 million. Like it was, every video was breaking like well into the millions. Or like at least like we'd be like, oh, only 200,000. Damn it. Like, and so the clip started blowing up, and then the show started blowing up, and then the better comics wanted to do it because all of a sudden there was more eyes on it. And it wasn't always like, there's a lot of like highs and lows throughout the show.
Yeah.
But eventually it just kind of started picking up, and then we took it to YouTube, and I got like super obsessed with like just the process of like growing the show on YouTube. And, we hit the 1,000 subscribers, the monetization limits. We got to start making money off YouTube, money off TikTok. And then it kind of turned from, instead of just operating a live show, which it was a very profitable live show, it turned into like an online brand as well too, which is like, I don't know, an annoying like thing to say, but now we're bringing in money from YouTube. So who cares if the live show makes money? We'll just keep paying the comics better. So we started paying comedians like really well for it, for what it was, for like a gimmick show. And then we were making money off YouTube, so it didn't matter. And that was cool.
How did Roast Battle coexist with the universe of Roast Battle
LA,
and the whole Dave Ross and
Jeff Ross. Brian. Well, so we ended up getting like really involved with all of this, and I briefly worked for Roast Battle, which is something I don't want to talk publicly about. But they reached out to us because the Roast Battle in LA, like they had the show on Comedy Central, that team. And they were like, hey, you guys are, they started selling tickets because of us in LA, because our videos are doing millions of views. And like Brian Moses, the guy who founded the show, roast battle originally, he sent us a message and he was like, "Hey, Sarah Silverman just reached out to me being like, I love what you're doing with roast battle, but it's not us, it's you guys." And so what they started a league. They were like, we're gonna unify all these other cities that do roast battle and we kind of like, I mean, I don't think they might give us credit for it, but we kind of led the charge on that, and like we worked very closely with them with making the league, starting the league. We were clearly like, at that point we were bigger on YouTube than they were, and like on TikTok, and so we kind of took charge and helped them found like the Roast Battle League, which now exists today. And I mean it's gotten pretty big on YouTube.
Yeah.
So they have a podcast where they kind of break down the best battles over the world, and it's international too. So there's ones in like London and Australia and Barcelona in Canada. I think all of roast battles too that are part of the league.
Wow.
So they kind of and I love this. I think this is a great thing that Brian Moses did, is instead of being like, we have to compete with all these other roast battles, we have to shut them down. He was just like, let's just join them. Let's help them out.
Yeah.
And he did, and it's been great for us, and we got to, helped us get the show even bigger, elevate us to new heights. Like, because we would get Jeff Ross would come to Chicago, and he would do our show, and he would sell 6 shows at a comedy club, and then also drop it into our show, and that was huge. And then other celebrities wanted to do our show, and all of a sudden it was like a thing to do if you were like a big comic in town. So that was awesome for us.
Yeah. So as somebody who loved performing on stage, did you have a realization that I'm spending so much time with the video element, the posting, making things go viral, all of that? Did you find like a tipping point where you're like, oh man, this is taken away from my love of the stage?
No, that's where I'm at right now. So here we are today.
Yeah. Wait, but we have to talk about how you got from Chicago to Texas first.
No, so it's actually a great point. So the show became so big it turned into a company, and I was like, the other business partner, kind of. I was always the one doing all the operating. Like I was the one doing all the marketing. I was the one doing all the finances and like the spreadsheets of the show.
Yeah. Like
managing the booking, and
I know a company like that, Richard.
Richard. We know you're out there. I don't know who Richard is, but I don't like him. Richard, you son of a gun. Why, I oughta.
Richard. Oh, no.
That's for you, Richard.
Richard makes the website happen, and I was out of town, and so he actually, you were the one dealing with him during my out of town time, during the whole promo and social media thing. Okay. He doesn't know how to do any of that.
Yeah, he didn't. Stuff. It was weird. It was like he would. Yeah, everything he did was wrong, and his effort was there, so I didn't complain. I was like, I spent $3 or $5. I can't. Whatever.
Yeah, right.
I'm just thrilled to be here.
Okay, so anyway, the company So
it starts growing, and so we actually were very generous. An amazing videographer by the name of Justin Smith, which is a very generic name. Yeah. But if you can find him, tell him I love him. He started doing video for us, and he just like elevated. I mean, he was bringing in like 4K cameras, Blackmagics, great lenses, and then we got money, and then we were able to. We literally a patron of the show, for a guy who loved the show, bought us our all new audio system, because one of our biggest shows had this huge audio meltdown. He goes, I'm buying the whole club a new audio system.
Oh my gosh.
The show got so big, the fans were just amazing. And Justin took over the video, and then we had a young guy, Michael Thomas Reagan, take over the editing, and I taught him. And at first he wasn't very very good. The clips went, it was pretty, it was notable. You could tell my clips would do all these views, and then his would be like, eh. And I was really I got really strategic of how to edit a clip. Like, what's the best line to start on people that's going to get it hooked to increase viewer retention? What's the right length? It's like, okay, it needs to be around 20 seconds. So I got to trim out all the fat, and blah, blah, blah. So I get really into editing the clips of the show. I probably did over 350 clips of other comedians, not my own. If it was my own, I'd be too famous for this podcast.
Okay, fine.
But then all my friends they'd go viral, and the friends in the clips would, have a following. I'd be like, damn it. I was like, I got to stop doing this with other people. So then we hired out the team, and even with the team, the show was still making money. But eventually I was able to, I I was still very active with all of it, and I was still like the strategic mind ball of it, and I still would do a lot of the clips myself, where I'd give a lot of feedback, and they, people always got annoyed because I'd give a lot of feedback with their stuff, but I think you're allowed to be critical when you're harsher on yourself.
Yeah.
Like, you think I'm being mean to you, you should hear the voice in my head towards me. It's way more mad. Like, I'd be like, hey man, you got to cut out this last joke because it's like not a big punch. They'd be like, oh, you sure? And I'd be like, hey man, you should see the hours of editing and re-editing I would do, But eventually the team got like really dialed in. We had a really smooth operation, and then kind of the peak of the show was, and you can look this up. I mean, don't look it up because I'm no longer a part of this. Fuck Roast Battle Chicago. And it's a very bitter ending. And we did like a theater in the suburbs, and we made like stupid money. Just like we sold out. I mean, we did like 250, 300 tickets, I think, for one of them.
Wow.
And it was like, $20 a ticket. You can do the math. And plus merch sales. And so we were doing we had like laser lights, smoke machines,
Jeez.
like
Over
displays.
the
I mean, it was, we were like, because like the money was coming in, and we were just like, let's just keep reinvesting it, and let's just keep giving the comedians like a bigger platform. And that was always my mentality towards the show, was like, I could be so rich. We could have cashed out so many times, and we just never would. And then I would so I started getting, because I think of the crew, I clearly had like the most amount of stage time and like experience. So I would get like headlining, work on the road, and I'd always like go to the clubs and be like, they would reach out to me, and I'd be like, hey, can we, or be like 2 shows, or I'd be like, well, can we add a 3rd show? It's a roast battle, and we'll come and record that for your scene, put it on Arch page, and give your guys. And so we did that a few times. You'd go and reach out to other. If I was doing a club, I'd be like, well, cancel my late show Friday and just make that a roast battle.
Yeah.
And we'll have your local comedians. And that was fun for me, because you got to meet new comics and give them a platform to be recognized. It was all very fulfilling work and stuff I loved. I loved helping other people. I loved giving other people the platform. It was fun to just keep reinvesting and growing this thing. And now you have a team of people, and that's cool.
Yeah.
And we became an LLC, filed taxes, which sounds lame, but there's something cool to be like, oh, we're big enough now. You know what I mean? The IRS cares.
They care if you file late.
You know what they say? Comedy's not cool unless the government's involved.
Yeah, and it's true. Everybody says it. Yeah. There's a T-shirt.
Huge. Yeah. There's nothing cooler than getting the government involved in your comedy. And so that's what we did. And it was really fun. I've always been a really entrepreneurial little kid. And I've also just loved comedy more so. But anyway, that was a nice, I feel like I spent a lot of time building this thing for truly for other comedians. Because I didn't even, I liked doing the show a lot, but I was not I felt like it wasn't the last 6 months that I got really good, that I was I should just enjoy this. Because before I was so busy on running the business, but once it got big enough, I could actually enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I was starting to actually get some good laughs in every show, and because before I was kind of this mess of just the business is poorly run, and I was the only one that had an attention to detail, and things would always be wrong, and it'd be we'd have to burn footage, and I'd be like, ah, damn it, that's money, But once things started going well, I could really start and enjoy it. But it took 2 years before I could enjoy the show. I think my business partner was always he was very hedonistic about it. He was always the one oh no, someone needs to run the door. I'd be like, all right, I'll step out of tonight's show and you can do it. Because I felt like I was the adult in the room. Yeah. A lot of it. He would tell you the opposite. He would somehow spin that to not be. But the show kind of got big, and that was fun. Yeah. It was a really fun process.
We're gonna take our intermission. We're gonna hopefully when we get back, we're gonna find out what got you to Texas.
I'm so sorry. I've rambled.
Okay, so this is Where Should We Begin? Woo. It's a card game by Esther Perel, who is this world-renowned psychologist. Richard actually gifted me this, and I've integrated it into the webcast. So
Richard, we love you.
Yeah, we do.
Richard, we love you.
We take back everything that we said before. Okay, so you're gonna.
A round of applause for Richard, everybody.
Yeah, round of applause.
That's character growth.
Point to a card. Just point. Just point which card?
Do this one.
Okay, that one. Okay, so I'm going to read that to you after you
Okay.
read this one to me.
This is beautiful.
Yeah, so we're going to have fun with this.
And this game is Where Should We Begin?
Yeah.
So
You're going to read that off, and I'm going to answer that question.
Okay. I spend too much time worrying about ...
Oh, goodness. Everything. I spend too much time worrying about Comedy Wham and
I can tell.
taking care of everything, and my child and my mother and everything but me. That's
Oh, beautiful.
the short answer.
Well, I've met the child. He seems to be all right. I did have to discipline him.
Yeah.
Boy, get over here.
Needs to do chores.
Respect your mother.
Okay, are you ready for your question?
I feel like I've been so manic on. I'm sorry. I want to apologize. I've been so wound up in this podcast. I didn't even drink coffee today. First of all, and then I'll answer your question
Okay,
now.
are you ready? All right. Matt,
Yes.
I was never the same after ...
Oh, God.
...
All of the concussions. No, I don't know. Never the same after moving to Austin.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
I think I'm a much happier person now.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good.
I think you can hear the disdain and the resent towards my past.
Yeah.
As I'm talking about
just
it.
a tiny bit.
I think
just
it's
a
very
tiny bit.
obvious.
Yeah.
I was like so like strung up.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm less now. I like
Yeah.
to believe.
Yeah. So what did finally get you here to Austin?
Well, it was a mixture of things. I felt like I had hit the ceiling for what there is in Chicago comedy. Post-pandemic, Chicago, and this is something I'd love to talk about, is I think Chicago and Austin are very similar, where pre-pandemic comedy and post-pandemic comedy are so dramatically different. Mm-hmm. Just like the energy, like there was all these really fun indie creative like alt shows with like the gimmicks were cool. Every show was like really underground. Everything was like super DIY. Like it wasn't anti the clubs, but it was like make your own thing, make it happen. Like a really cool, funny, and like house shows were like coming up. Now house shows have been like corporatized into don't tells.
Yeah.
Which is cool. I love don't tells,
Yeah.
but it used to be fun when it was like you do a show in someone's basement, there'd be like 100 people and you're like, what? Like it was like, this is so cool. And all the venues were like hidden grungy venues, but they would always be packed and like comedy I felt like was sillier too. I don't know, maybe it was just a hindsight thing. Anyway, Chicago changed in a way that I just was like, I was bored. I was creatively unchallenged. I mean, that's also, I think I kind of like, here's the thing. I really had a disdain towards, I don't want to say which ones, but there's a handful of clubs in Chicago I thought really weren't doing a lot for the comedians. Like they really, like, they just were super stagnant with their lineups. It was like comics who had been doing it for like 10 years who weren't developing their act or like moving on or like, and it was like gate kept for like, I kind of, and I like things being gate kept, which is weird, but it was like gate kept for no reason. The city just felt stagnant and boring, and I was just like not creatively challenged. I didn't think there was any way like forward for me there anymore, and so I just kind of was like, I gotta go. I gotta mix it up.
So why did you choose? Well, I guess what time was this? What was the year? Of
September of last year is when I moved.
So
but I
at
made the
this
decision
point,
like
everything
5
was
months
open.
out. Yes.
So you could have gone to be supremely challenged in New York.
Yes.
Or differently challenged in LA.
Yes.
You chose.
Yeah. Well, I had done shows so I was actually in Austin during the snowpocalypse. I was frozen into the airport for 4 days.
Oh my God.
It was me and like 20 people were frozen. That's a whole different story for itself.
Yeah.
I'd done Austin, I did it in 2018.
Okay.
I had done it in 2020, and I think I did it once in 2021. I flew down to do Roast Battle here when it was at the Vulcan and really big. Mm-hmm. And then I just kind of was like, well, I know Austin better. I just started seeing like a lot of my friends are moving here, and I saw the list of like, there's 11 or 13 comedy clubs in Austin.
Yeah.
Here's all the comedy clubs, and I was like, all my friends are in there. They're posting all their cool indie shows, and I was like, well, there's like all these really cool indie shows, and there's all these comedy clubs, and I was like, well, if I want to get into the clubs and like develop my acting, I just need more quality stage time in Chicago. Maybe it's healed better now, but like for the size of the city, there wasn't that much stage time, and we were all fighting for it. And it just like everyone, it felt like the entire city was getting like bitter and jaded, and I was like, this is gross. I don't want to be bitter and jaded, especially like pessimistic about my future. And I moved here, and immediately it was like, There's so many shows. There's so much like quality entry level stage time. I feel respected by the clubs here, like in a super like in Chicago. Like I would walk in to, in fact, I'll say it, like Laugh Factory Chicago. I'd walk in and they'd be like, "Who are you?" And I'd be like, Do you not know? Like,
Wow.
it's not like I'm a big deal, but it's like, come on, you should know who I am.
Yeah.
I'm here every Tuesday for the open mic. I'm on a dozen shows. I have the biggest indie show in the city. Like, I'm headlining clubs on the road.
Yeah.
Like, and it'd be like, and other whatever. Like, they would never pay. And I did like a dozen shows. I never got a check from them. And it'd be like,
Ooh.
I was just like, and this is the biggest thing here. And I'm like, and they do one audition a year, and they put the same people who auditioned for the last 10 years on it. And at that point, they're no longer a new face. So if you get what I'm saying. And it was just like, I was like, all right, well, this like sucks. I hate this. This is awful. I don't want to do this. And so I just got out. But here it's like, I feel like there's so much stage time. I've like started taking like bigger creative swings. My act is so much sillier.
Yeah.
I do voices now.
Oh, really?
That's kind of fun. And I'm just enjoying comedy more. And the senior, like the comics here as a result of like all the opportunity
Yeah.
are just like, I feel like super happy.
Yeah.
And like there's like so much less stress as like in Chicago, you'd be like, there's always like, when's my next show? Like when can I get, but here it's like, if I don't have a show, it's like, well, you can walk down 6th and now there's 7 clubs in 4 blocks. And you can pop in and be like, anyone drop? No? All right, next club.
Yeah.
And then, you know, eventually you get 1 or 2 spots on a weekend just doing that. And if you're not booked, and then it's like, then there's just so many great indie shows.
Yeah.
And I feel like in Chicago, booking was almost exclusively a result of like scene politics. And here I've never, it happens here a little
Yeah,
bit,
sure.
but
Yeah.
it's very small percent scene politics. It feels like if you do well on a show, I'll have someone walk up to me and go, hey man, I run a show here.
Yeah.
Could you come do my show? And it's like, it's so cool.
Yeah.
It's so, to be booked because someone saw you just do well is like, yeah, like that's what I want.
Yeah.
Like that's what I want in my life. I don't have to be fighting to do, you know, a bar show for 3 people. And you're like, I've been looking forward to this all month. You're like, ugh, like it's stupid.
And you clearly had the itch to produce something new because you started a ultimate comedy competition.
Yeah.
Which you are back to that game of
I know.
posting videos.
I know. And I'm looking forward to the day we make enough money where I can hire a team to do it for me.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm already itching to not be doing it. I just what it is the show's a mixture of 3 shows that happened in Chicago that I loved. That were like really fun indie alt shows. And I'd missed the silliness, kind of like the improv-y aspect of stand-up, which the show has a lot of.
Yeah.
And it's on YouTube. Episode 1's out right now. Check it out. The show's really silly. It's really just dumb. It's like a game show that doesn't matter. Very Who's Liney in that sense. Like the prize for the show is the golden drink ticket. And the running joke is that it's worth 1 well drink. Or a Coors Light, you know, and which is a pretty good domestic. But yeah, so the show's like just really kind of silly and dumb. And I think one thing that I did very like deliberately, 'cause I spent a lot of time trying to think. I sold my half a roast battle Chicago, done out of that. Had a spat with the business partner, and we're never gonna be friends again. And isn't that fun? Just like gloss over that. I don't care. I'm happy now. And like, what a blessing. And and anyway, so yeah, so the show is just like meant to be silly. And unlike roast battle Chicago, I get to be like very, very like on stage and perform and be like a face of it. I feel like with Chicago, I separated myself from the show as a performer. I was kind of pushed out slowly throughout the years by my business partner, where I was like less and less a stage presence on it.
Okay.
And I think this show, I'm very like a part of it, which is nice. I get to be a part of the clips sometimes, and I still get to have the fun of like putting my friends up and like running them through challenges.
Yeah.
The show's been very silly.
Yeah.
So if you have the chance to look it up, I don't know how else to describe it. It's a lot of like improvised stand-up, a lot of like stand-up. Like an example for one of them is like on the first episode, one of the comedians had to do stand-up, but he had to put on a mullet and like these big glasses and do a set as like a wrestler and do it like as Macho Man Randy Savage. Or like Danny Goodwin, I'm a huge fan of. He had to do after every minute, he had to stop and do 3 push-ups.
Oh my God.
Which 3 push-ups, not a lot, but when you're Danny Goodwin,
Danny,
and I love him.
He's not known for athletic prowess.
Well, and he did a great job of playing up of like, I can't do a push-up. You know what I mean? He did a great job of like playing with the game of like, this is a challenge for me.
Yeah.
And it's 15 push-ups, and he did it, and it was so good. And it was the best part. It was so funny. He'd do the push-ups, and I'd be like, 1, 2, 3. All right. So anyway, dating's difficult. As I said, my dad's no good, and it was just very funny. The show's been like really just silly, and I've fallen in love with producing a show again, because I always loved the process of Chicago. I loved building it up online, but now it's like, now this is mine, and it's just me. There's no one else. I have a whole team, but there's no one else that's like a co-owner in it, which is nice too.
Yeah. And you're doing this show every week?
No, I'm having, there's some dates issues, miscommunications between parties. We're going to figure it out. I want it to be weekly. I would love for it to be a regular Wednesday or Thursday show. Well, there's been like a month now where we haven't had it, and it's just been back and forth. It's like, I know, this is once again, the not fun part of producing.
Yeah.
But I've had a lot of time, because they pulled gimmicks from a bucket is the first third of the show. And I had a lot of time to think of like really funny. And people who saw the first episode are like messaging me online, like DMing me like, I saw the first episode and I really liked it, and this is what I want. And it doesn't have a lot of views, but the people that have viewed it, like, and like 4 of the people that have messaged me are just total strangers, which is really cool. To be like, oh, hey, what if they did this? And I'll be like, yeah, that's a great idea. Like, we'll do that.
Nice.
I want to do an election special where, like, you have to do, I was thinking of one of them is, like, you have to do stand-up, but you have to, you have to continue doing your set, but you have to shake everyone in the audience's hand.
Oh, my God.
You know, Kenneth always shaking, but you have to do your set while shaking everyone's hand.
Oh, my God.
I've thought of, like, a lot of, like, election, stuff that goes both sides. It's not really.
Balloon drop.
Yeah. You have to do your set while there's gonna be a baby. You have to take photos with a baby or whatever. I don't know. I've been thinking of like really fun ones. I want to do. I want to do one where you have to. I just did a show where I had to put on like a lab coat and dress up as a scientist. I want to put on this lab coat and have people like throw stuff at you. I don't know. Yeah. So let's see. We're gonna have fun with it.
Yeah.
So
at one point during your career, you managed to record a special.
An album. It was an album.
Okay.
I haven't done a special yet. I'm holding. I think a special needs to be special, and I haven't had an act that I think is important enough. You know. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
So the album that you recorded, when did you record that?
22 years ago, 3 years ago now.
Okay. All right.
It was just a half hour too. I ran 45 minutes the night I recorded it. But the first half hour is all about. For the longest time, my stand-up was, like, fixated on, like, being from Iowa. And it was all just, like, small-town stuff. Yeah. And I just felt like I was, like, so, like, I would do longer sets. I'd be like, well, I'll just do the 20-minute chunk of Iowa stuff I've written now. And I just kept building on. I was like, I got to move off this. Yeah. Like, I'm done with it. And so the album was not like, this is really great. It was just like, I hate this. I get rid of
it was
this.
a way to retire.
Which is really not a good way to sell an album.
No, it really isn't. No.
But it was so fun. I like the idea of it being like all thematic. I think that was like cool for me to be like, it's all in one subject. And it's cool to give yourself a deadline for comedy, because like the month leading up to it, I just kept writing. You're like, ooh, well, I always want to talk about this part. I always want to talk about, and you started writing more because it's like, well, I have a deadline now. Like there's a reason. I have something to be prepared for. Yeah. And as comedians, you artistically are kind of just like floating around, just writing at your own will. But when you give yourself a deadline, like you'll realize that you write so much more. And you realize that like the limitations of the mind are holding you back. It's all in your head. But you're like, oh, like I have to get this done. I just, it was fun. I like the material on it a lot too. I would revisit it again, but just the night of the record, like I don't think the recording was good. There was a COVID outbreak. It was in like 2022 or either late 2021 or early 2022 when I recorded it. Yeah. And there was another outbreak just in Des Moines the week I recorded it. So I remember driving down. I listen to the radio all the time. I'm like obsessed with radio. I'm like an old soul in that sense. Wow. And they were like the hospital in downtown Des Moines, which is 3 blocks from the comedy club, is currently at capacity. It was overfilled. And I was like, what? Because in Chicago, we were fine. Everyone else, and they was like, what the hell? And they're like, oh, there's a blizzard about to hit Des Moines this Friday. And I was like, no!
Oh, no.
So there's a blizzard, there's a COVID outbreak. And a bunch of people, like, were messaging me being like, hey, Christmas is in 3 weeks. I don't want to get it. And I was like, I get it. And so there's all these issues. The show's still sold well. The first show was nearly sold out still. But it was just like, my problem is I'm either a producer or I'm a comedian. And I'm either like in like business mode or I'm in comedy mode. And I think all this stuff kind of just like, I didn't want to have to worry about it. I wanted it to be sold out. I wanted it to be just ready to go. And then there was all these, you can hear like the venue is like loudly using glass cups. And the club had a different manager when I booked it. And then they switched manager. The manager was a comic who didn't like me. Shocker. And all of them, I don't think anyone in Des Moines likes me. I'm sure they do. I'm sure I'm good. I'm being so dramatic right now. I love Des Moines. Yes, that happened. There's all these like, so you can hear him like, he starts cleaning glasses next to like the room audio.
Oh my God.
And I looked up and I was like, what is he doing with those cups? And I was like, that's weird. He's doing it there, not behind the bar. And then you listen to the audio, it's like all you hear is him loudly cleaning cups. And I don't know if it was intentional. So there's all these things that are just kind of like annoying. But the material on it, I stand by. As like I enjoyed writing it. I think it was fun. I just wish I wish I would re-record it if I could.
Yeah.
But I think the album art was really sick.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I haven't seen.
That's really cool. I'll show you it.
I've only gotten to actually watch you do stand up once.
Oh, and I was that good. I'm here.
Yeah, I know, right? But you did do an Iowa joke, which was absolutely hilarious.
Which one
kind of
was it?
Speaks to your attention to detail. Like you recited all these facts about a football player.
Oh,
right?
the Brock Purdy joke.
Yes. And it was just such like I felt like I was being led somewhere.
That's the most autistic joke I've ever written. It's so funny.
It's really great. If you can see it live, you should definitely go see it live.
You should go see it. It's just me. That's so funny. That's the joke. Yeah, that's a new joke, but it is about Iowa, unfortunately. Yeah. And I like the idea of like playing because as I've gotten more into comedy, I've also gotten more into sports. As comedy's like become my job, I'm like, I need a new thing now. So now I'm like really into sports, like more than I ever was before. And people are like, oh, you're a big sports guy. And I'm like, I mean, I am now. But it's only because like comedy was my hobby and sports is like like the thing. And now comedy's my job and sports is like my new hobby. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And my favorite football team is the Iowa State Cyclones. And I say it in the joke, but they're like the worst college football team mathematically in the Power Five. Like the last time we've never won a national championship, but the last time we won even a conference championship was 1912. Oh wow! Which is when New Mexico became a state.
Oh my gosh!
So we're just like we've never won 10 games in a season. Yeah. We've never we're on a hot streak right now historically. Historically, it's like the best time to be an Iowa State fan. But my entire childhood and just like generations of Iowa State fans are just like disgruntled old men, and I love them. Yeah. They're just like the bitterest fan base. And we're like, why are we even here? Yeah. You know?
Well, I mean, welcome to Austin. I think we're all jaded that we won another championship, but
national champ. By the way, they're mad about national championships. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, we are.
It's been 112 years since we've won a conference. And we were in some pretty non-existent. I mean, we were in like the Central Iowa Conference, where we were facing now D3 schools, and we couldn't win. Just historically, like it really is hard to fathom how terrible Iowa State is. Yeah. I love stories of like in the 70s they would like sneak like mini kegs into the bleachers the day before the game, and then at the game they'd have just kegs of beer like in the student section, and the school is like, well, at least people are here. Like they wouldn't even. And the fan base, it's so fun. I saw in real time because for my freshman and senior year when I was in college, the school we had a new coach and he was really good. And the school went from being awful to being like all of a sudden like super competitive, and that was amazing to witness like the transition after like 100 years of torture to be like there for it, you know. But my freshman and my senior, the student section like mentality shifted because my freshman year it was like violent. But in a very funny way. Like, we'd be, like, super vulgar. Like, we'd, like, fuck shit. Like, we were just, everybody be, one of the songs the band plays, no one knows the words to it. Don't know the words, don't know the words to this stupid fucking song. And then we'd fuck you, like, and as the players, dude, we had this quarterback that everyone hated, and we'd be like, "Fuck you, Jacob!" Like we were like we were talking bad to our players, and like we were like throwing shit on the field, and it was like, sometimes schools do that where they like you'll see them like throwing, like the fan base is shitty, and you're like, "Why are you shit? You're generationally great." You entitled pricks, that's sometimes schools like Texas fans. When they get mad, I'm like, oh, you're mad? You're mad? Oh, you and your $100 million player budget? Oh, you're mad because you didn't win a national championship with your $2 billion head coach? You're like, oh, you're mad? Yeah, we haven't won 5 games in 30 years, okay? We're furious. And we're still going. We're still, because it's Central Iowa. There's nothing else to do. So we're there, and we're pissed off that we're so, it's so embarrassing. We're sitting there, we're all losers. We're a bunch of idiots. We're dumb for being here. We shouldn't. Why are we supporting this team? You've never been good. Yeah. The last time Iowa State won a conference championship, there's not a fan still alive from 1912. We have never been good. And we're still fucking my freshman year, we were like this whole student section was just swearing, throwing shit on the field, just like unruly, mad idiots because we're a bunch of losers, and there's all a bunch of farm kids too, and then like we started winning games, and then like the rhetoric in the student section was like, yo, we gotta act like we've been here before, we don't storm the field for this team. They're only number 10 in the nation. When we upset number 10 nations, it's no big deal now. And I was like, I liked it better when we were violent losers. I was like, hey, we got to be etiquette now. We're being shown on national television. Yeah. I remember that was the thing. It'd be like, hey, NBC's here. They haven't been here in 20 years, so we got to look nice. Yeah. We can't be throwing stuff at the camera guy anymore. Okay. Poor Will's over there in a Kevlar jacket and a riot shield being like, what? All of a sudden he's getting cocky. We're like, hey, we gotta act like we have culture here now, So it's been it's lame, but we would leave like by the fourth quarter, the student section were like, we're marching, and we would all stand up and march. My junior, senior, we never did it once, but freshman, sophomore, I'd be like, we're leaving. Fuck this, and it'd be like a mass exodus. Let's get wasted. We're drinking and forget. It was like just like not actually violent, but like violent in like the nature of like the way we were like, we get it. We suck. We know we do. We know we do. And we'd be like, there was shirts. Like Iowa State fans like embraced that we sucked. Like it was like we'd have shirts. Be like, hey, let me know if we win 3 games, or like. It was so good. And we were like, we hate ourselves. Like, it was like everything. It was a self-hating fan base. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I fell in love with it. Yeah. I was like, and now we're competitive. And I'm like, all right. Now we have expectations. And we're like, oh, God. My little brother's so entitled.
Hilarious.
So, yeah. That's why I love it. I'm also a Steelers fan. The Steelers are the opposite. They're historically good, and they are an entitled fan base. Yeah. So I have a little bit of both. Yeah. But I think it's very funny.
So you dig into the lore and the detail. You are a detail-oriented person.
Yeah. I'm really autistic about it. I think it's. What did I say earlier? I think sports is like an incredible vessel for like really organic storytelling. Yeah. As much as I love theater, sports like it just happens. Yeah. And it's just like, well, this is like, like I think it's very funny. I started doing this as like a joke on Instagram like a year or two back. There's an Iowa State player who made it to the NFL, broke his hand, never played. His name's Hakeem Butler. Uh-huh. And I realized that he kind of like, he was like in the Canadian Football League, and then he was in the XFL, which is this weird, arena football. And he's kind of like still kind of in it, but he's not, you know what I mean? He's not like, he's so out of it. His kind of career's falling apart. He was a star at Iowa State though. Mm. And I realized that he was so bad, his sports cards you could get for nothing. So I was like, I'm going to be the premier Hakeem Butler football card collector. And so I started buying, like I'd go on eBay and like cards, if it was any other player, like just a piece of his jersey, it'd be like, $80, $200, $300. I'd be like, I'll give you $3 for it, and like just take it, And so I started buying all of his stuff, and I have like hundreds now of Hakeem Butler cards. But he went to the UFL this year. He's my age, so he's 27, 26. And he had this like standoff year, which in the NFL, 26 is like get out of here. It's like you're time to retire, dude.
Yeah.
But he went to the UFL this year, and he got MVP, offensive MVP there, and then he just signed with an NFL team 3 days ago. He signed with the Cincinnati Bengals. And everyone online is like, dude, he's going to be, because he's like 6'8", and he's got massive hands, and he ran the league in the UFL. And so now everyone's like, your collection's worth like money. Like this guy, like if he just plays one game, and they're like, people will be like, oh, Cincinnati fans will be like, oh yeah, he's a guy who played for me. I should collect his stuff, I'm gonna be so up. I'm gonna be so rich, dude. I'm gonna be so. The greatest investment of all time is Hakeem Butler rookie cards.
Hilarious.
If he doesn't, I could care less.
Yeah.
Because at this point, it's just a meme, and I just enjoy looking at him.
Yeah.
So
funny.
This is very funny for me.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna ask you 2 rapid fire questions.
Let's do it. I'm sorry. I really deep dive into everything. C'est la vie.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you some rapid fire questions.
Let's do it.
We're going to start off with the light bulb moment when you realized that stand-up comedy was like your thing.
So, yeah, I mean, I think the first set I ever did, I was like, this is it. This is it, baby. I'm going to ruin my life for this form. Yeah, I mean, there's also like a drunk conversation I had at the intersection of Welch Avenue and Hunt in Ames, Iowa. My friend's like, I'm going to Chicago. You should come. And I was like, all right.
Huh. Wow. Okay. Easy
It was a drunk conversation in college, probably number 2.
Okay.
So,
all right.
yeah.
Second rapid fire is, what do you least like about comedy?
Where do I begin?
That you haven't already talked about.
No, I know. I love everything. No, I love I hate everything in comedy that's not doing stand-up comedy. I think doing stand-up comedy and writing it is most fun. I feel like I'll get lost, like, production. Like, I just started my own podcast, too, and it's like, I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to do this. And it's like, but I'd love to get to a point where I could just do the thing that I love. Mm-hmm. It's the worrying about ticketing sales, marketing, like, travel, like I love doing the road, but it's like, the logistics and the money is, like, tough and scary, and everything that's not stand-up comedy I don't like about stand-up comedy.
All right, well, this might make this question a no-brainer then. What do you love about stand-up comedy?
Everything that's not stand-up comedy. No, I love it. It's I think the appeal for it is kind of like the appeal for improv is that there's no end to how good you can be at it. There's no. It's not like a sporting event where you finish the game and you're like, well, that's it, it's over.
Yeah.
It's like you can get infinitely better at it. There's never a place where you can't 100% it.
Yeah.
So it's a lifelong challenge, hopefully.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there anything we haven't talked about that you want people to know about you? I forgot that you have a brand new podcast that just launched.
The Hardly Working podcast. That's fun. I talk about comedians. I talk about their jobs. Mainly Ultimate Comedy Competition is what I care about right now. Is my current fixation. I used to be able to put both legs on my head when I was in like 4th grade. That was pretty cool. I'm an Eagle Scout. I'm really proud of that. I don't know. I speak fluent German. Wie geht's? No, I don't. And hey, the first half I may have come off as a hater of this podcast. But people don't know.
Wait, of this podcast?
Yeah, I may have been a hater.
Oh, no.
A hater, but really, I'm a lover. And I don't know. You can, whatever. We talked about it. This is my life story.
Yeah. That's what this podcast is. Get your life story.
I loved it. You're a great host.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. All right. Well, in that case, are you ready for your closing question?
Let's do it.
All right. One word to describe your future.
Massive. Infinite.
Ooh.
I feel good. I'm optimistic. I'm like just things have been going very well recently, and even when things aren't going well, I still feel good.
Yeah.
So Austin's been great for that.
Yeah.
But Austin is not like Chicago, where there is old Chicago and there's new Chicago, and very obviously there's old Austin and new Austin.
Yeah.
Doing Austin in 2018 is very different from doing it now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah.
I've enjoyed it.
Big old Austin now.
Oh boy.
All right. Well, that is a wrap on Comedy Wham Presents Matt Banwart. That is hard to say.
Banwart.
Matt tell us where to find you on social media and promote your projects.
Oh, yeah. Social media at Matt, MATT _ BANWART on Instagram. Or just look up the Ultimate Comedy Competition on YouTube. YouTube's the main thing I'm really passionate about right now. If you have the time, watch it, or the podcast. But yeah, the Ultimate Comedy Competition, episode 1 is out now. I really like it. It's over an hour long, so it's going to be a bit of a watch, but sit down, make the time. I think you'll enjoy it. It's very funny. Yeah. Very silly.
And the podcast that you don't want to promote for some reason because you really love your Ultimate Comedy
I do. Hardly Working, the Hardly Working podcast where I interview comedians. We've had... Every episode, the comedians have been all like so stylistically different. They're like just a wide array of energies.
Yeah.
One of the episodes I didn't put on YouTube, but it's only on Spotify and Apple Podcasts or whatever, is I interviewed my brother, my older brother, who's a little quiet, a little bit of a shell, but we got some crazy stories out of him. So that was a really fun episode.
Cool. That's cool.
So if you want to watch it and listen to an episode that's not like any of the others, listen to the one with my older brother. So
that's cool. It's very cool. Well, we hope you've enjoyed learning about how Matt got to be the comedic genius that you heard today just as much as I have.
Genius is pushing. Okay, Val, come on now.
This has been Comedy Wham presents Matt Banwart. I'm Valerie, and that's been funny. And thank you, Matt. You are the inaugural comic that has held the stand the entire time.
I held the microphone up. Yeah,
the entire time.
I rested it on like my stomach / chest area. I wanted to lean back.
All right, thank you.
Bye.